Good afternoon, everyone. It is Saturday, September 24th. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is the latest in an ongoing series of Saturday Zoom trainings sponsored by Western Liberty Network. And I'll be doing the training today on mistakes that candidates make at the end of an election cycle and how to avoid them in just a moment. Before I do, however, I need to go through some basics. First of all, I'm going to share the screen. This here is the Western Liberty Network website. If you go to westernliberty.com or westernlibertynetwork.org, you will see this website. And the website always includes, information on what we're doing. And what I want to do right now is highlight a conference we're having a week from today at the Hilton Hotel in Vancouver, Washington. This conference is sponsored by FreedomWorks. And we've got a full agenda here. They're flying in some national speakers. We're going to have a school choice panel discussion. We're going to have some training there, some discussion of what's going on in Washington, D.C., national economics. It is just going to be amazing. Joe Kent, congressional candidate in Washington 3rd Congressional District, Republican nominee, will be there. The Reverend C.L. Bryant, who tries to get members of the minority community to get away from dependent government programs and ideologies, he's going to be there. And the great thing about this conference is that it is fully sponsored by FreedomWorks, and it will be free. Admission is free, and it even includes a hot Mexican buffet lunch, an attendance packet with training materials and informational materials included. It is just a fantastic event. I hope you can all sign up. Registration is required but costs nothing. And so you can click on this red Register Now button. If you do, you will be brought to this page. This is the Freedom Teams WLN event page. And just register here, click on this, and it'll charge you nothing, and you will be admitted to the event, and you will get all of the materials and a free lunch. And so I'm hoping that you can make that event. We're going to let Eric in. Thank you for joining us, Eric. If you want to avail yourself of various training resources, there are several ways to get them. If you scroll down on the homepage of the westernlibertynetwork.org website, you'll see a series of presentations from past events that you can log into, like how to organize around local issues, how to use social media to support the candidates you care about. If you're a candidate, how to use social media. Speeches by Senator Dennis Linthicum, others. We've just got wonderful resources here. And if you're interested in training resources, go to the top and go to the training tab. If you go to the training tab, you'll find all kinds of things. You'll see some information about the kinds of training Western Liberty Network provides, some training documents you can download. For example, if you want to know how to gather signatures in Oregon or Washington State, click on one of those. It'll bring you to this training document. You can download it, distribute it, share it, print it, whatever is useful to you, and you can download all of these. At the very bottom, we have one download link where you can download all of the training documents at once. These are meant to be provided with a live training session, but they stand up well on their own. There's a lot of good information there. Scroll down a little more and you'll see recordings of our past video Zoom sessions. There are about 2 years worth of sessions on a variety of topics. I do some of the trainings, but we have guest trainers that do a lot of them. Legislators, ex-legislators, experts in their field. And if you go through and check these documents and check these videos, you can actually come up with your own customized training program. And if you like what you see and want to help Western Liberty Network, you can go to Support WLN, where you can make a tax-deductible contribution one time or an automatic monthly contribution. We love those because it's predictable. And so if you support Western Liberty Network and what we're doing, I encourage you to become part of our donor community. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing, bring my face back on. And one other thing I'll say is that Western Liberty Network is a 501c3 organization. We do not endorse any candidate, political party, even the candidates we train, and we don't endorse or oppose any legislation specifically or ballot measure. We do support limited government concepts and ideas, What we do is we train, excuse me, we train grassroots activists how to do politics, and then they can use that information in any way they like. So today's training is going to be on mistakes that campaigns make during the home stretch of election cycles, and in some cases, how to avoid them. If you have a question or you have a comment and you want to interject partway through, please do. Just unmute yourself and go ahead and speak. This will benefit not only the people on this call, but the people who will view the recording later. We actually have more people view these recordings than actually attend live, but we are happy to have you here. Okay, one of the things that a lot of candidates do to trip themselves up at the end of a cycle is simply to have no plan. You need to have a clear campaign plan. Those who don't have one should have had one from the beginning of the campaign, but if you don't, it's not too late. If you do not have a plan in writing, you do not have a plan. If it's in your head, it is not a plan. A campaign plan is a document which provides direction to the candidate volunteers, the candidate staff, and also shows donors that you are serious, people who will invest time, talent, and treasure in your campaign. If you have a written campaign plan, you're going to be taken more seriously than if you don't. And things that could be in the campaign plan would include, get out the vote on the last 6 weeks, how you're going to canvass neighborhoods, how you're going to use earned media. We're going to talk about all that in a minute. But Western Liberty Network does have a sheet that shows what the basic components of a campaign plan should be. And I'm going to make that available on the chat window right now. So if you go to your chat window and go to, go to your chat window, and you'll see a document which should be there now called Campaign Plan Overview. Now, if you have trouble with your chat window and you can't download your file, all of these files are available on the training tab of the westernlibertynetwork.org website. But this particular one will show you what the elements of a campaign plan are. So come up with a written campaign plan for the last 6 weeks of your campaign if you don't already have one. You know what they say, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. So that is the first thing I advise people to do. The second thing I advise people to do is to take raising money seriously. This is a big problem. A lot of candidates do not like to raise money, and money is critical, especially in the last few weeks of the campaign. If you are running for a race where you need paid media, or you need signs, or you need these sorts of things, you need to get on the phone in the next 2-3 weeks and just raise money. Use your campaign plan the way a new business would have a business plan, and bring it to a bank. Go talk to your donors. Who do you talk to? If you're running for a state legislature, you talk to political action committees. You talk to known donors. You can find out who donates money by looking at the campaign and expense statements from other campaigns. Go through your family connections, your friends, co-workers, people you do business with. Call people up, offer them that $50 or $100 tax credit that Oregon has. I don't think Washington has anything close to that, but come up with a goal for how much money you will raise, and then take that seriously. A good candidate should always be either raising money, interacting with voters either directly or through some sort of media, and making sure that they're boned up on the issues. Anything else that they're doing is a distraction from that, and that's why sometimes we have campaign staffs. But you do what you can with what you have to work with, but have a written campaign plan and make sure that you raise money. Some of the things you might spend that money on is a get out the vote campaign. I'm going to bring up another file here. Okay. Now your political party, there it is. Now your political party or other campaigns should have a get out the vote program in place, and they should start executing it right now, a few weeks out before ballots are mailed, to make people aware, to have them ready to receive the ballots, have them ready to fill them out, and have them ready to return them. But in addition to participating, excuse me, I'm having some kind of a cough thing today. In addition to participating in the Get Out the Vote programs of your party or other campaigns, you need one of your own among the volunteers that you have. If you have 5 volunteers, if you have 10 volunteers, whatever you have, ask them to execute an individual Get Out the Vote campaign. This is not meant to replace more formal GOTV campaigns. It's meant to augment it. And the concept is that from their homes, people can call people they know, their friends or neighbors, people in their personal networks, and make sure that they get out and vote. Most people have friends who are similar to themselves ideologically. I mean, it's not universally true. I have some liberal friends, but most of my friends think like I do. And most folks have a similar composition of friendships and relationships. So have them call their people and make sure they get out to vote. You can get people to vote. There's 72%, according to Stanford University, a study that was done there, people are 72% more likely to vote if you tie the act of voting to their identity. Like, Bob, you've been a Republican all your life. I know that, or you've been a Republican for 20 years, or you've been a Democrat, whatever it is. And I think you'll agree that, you know, it's time for us to get out and vote in this key election. If they agree, you've tied their identity to the act of voting. The second thing you need to do is to get them to have a plan to vote. Well, Bob, when are you going to vote? Well, we were thinking of doing it over the dinner table next Tuesday. That's a plan, and that's fine. But make sure your campaign and all of its volunteers have their own individual personal Get Out the Vote program. And the file that I just sent to you shows you how to do it, and even includes a worksheet that you can duplicate. Each worksheet deals with 2 voters, and you can track the people that your volunteers contact and get them to vote. Getting out the vote is the way that more limited government candidates have lost elections than almost anything else. Chris Dudley ran for Oregon governor, lost by less than 1%, but voter turnout in Eastern Oregon was terrible. This happens all the time. Get your people out to vote. That is a big mistake the candidates make. They don't spend enough time on GOTV, but it's not too late. We're 6 weeks out from the election, more or less, and there's still time to do GOTV work. Another thing is get your volunteers out in the field. If you have volunteers, make sure they're out there canvassing. And I'm going to have another file here. I'm going to send up another file. And this one is on how to canvass your neighborhood. Just have people knock on doors. Get a list, a walking list from your political party, or even get it from the county itself, and have people walk, down the neighborhoods, knocking on doors. And, if your name was Joe, say, hi, my name is Richard Burke. I'm here to campaign for Joe Smith, and I'd like you to have this, and give them your palm card or something like that. Just making personal contact with people in the neighborhoods is good. Most candidates who lose, who are limited government candidates in close races, one of the things that they fail to do is have a Get Out the Vote program, but they also fail to have a good ground game. So make sure you have a ground game. GOTV would be a part of your written campaign plan for your last 6 weeks. Fundraising would be a part of your campaign plan for the last 6 weeks. Canvassing neighborhoods would be another thing that would be in your written campaign plan for the next 6 weeks. Contact people, look them eye to eye, make sure the candidate is knocking on doors. Those things are critical. Another thing your volunteers can do is execute their own earned media campaign. Now, a paid media campaign is like TV ads, paid digital ads, radio ads. An earned media campaign is publicity you don't have to pay for, like letters to the editor, phone calls and talk shows, at radio stations. All of those things are what is referred to as earned media. Facebook campaigns, email blasts, all of it counts. And all of it's important, especially in close races. And I have another Western Liberty Network training here, training document. And there it is on people who can run their personal media campaign. Who can do this? All of your volunteers, family members, friends, people you know in civic organizations, service clubs. Have them write letters to the editor, have them call into talk radio shows, have them participate on social media, have them go to blogs, podcasts, all of those things to get word out about the candidate. And that ties in with not paying enough attention to technology. Technology is important, and by and large, if you do an earned media campaign, it's cheap. And it's a good way to reach a lot of people, in your circle very quickly. Email blasts, they're all good. Facebook, Instagram, the younger kids are using TikTok, but not a lot of older folks. And older folks vote more often than younger folks. So that is another thing that folks can do. Do not underestimate your opponents. A lot of people underestimate their opponents, and they overestimate their own name recognition. This is the home stretch. If you're a candidate that's been running an active campaign, or if you're a campaign volunteer that's been active, you're tired. You're getting on the end of the campaign and you're saying, oh, everybody knows everything. The voter pamphlet's coming out. I don't need to go out today. I'll do it tomorrow. I've got things to do. I've got to give kids a ride. Nope. This is the time when you need to have your family behind you and support you in getting in the field. Get in the field. Get your volunteers and supporters into the field. Make sure you're active in earned media. Make sure you're active on social media. Do all of those things. Make sure you're putting together a GOTV campaign. If you don't have volunteers, then talk with your political party or organization that is running a GOTV program and make sure that they mention you, that they mention your campaign going forward. But this is not the time to let up. This is the time to intensify. And it's hard because it's been a long campaign. Believe me, I've done it. I ran for Oregon governor as a Libertarian nominee. I ran a statewide campaign right to the very end of election day. I knew I wasn't going to win, but I wanted to use the campaign to meet other objectives, but I wanted to do as well as I could. And I pushed to the very end. And the same is true of other campaigns that I did win for the Tualatin Valley Water District, the Beaverton's school committees for Sunset High School. All of those things, you've got to keep up the intensity to the end. Do not let down, and stay positive. Think about what you're going to accomplish. Even if you don't win the election, have some objectives in mind, and this should be a part of your campaign plan. Getting back to your campaign plan, have secondary objectives. The top objective is always, of course, to win the election, but secondary objectives might be to raise a certain amount of money, to develop a certain number and be specific on that number of media contacts, build a network of volunteers, build a network of endorsers. All of these things that can survive the campaign, whether you win or lose, that will have some value. And so even if you have this in your campaign plan, even if a donor doesn't think you can win, you can get them to donate by reminding them that the campaign still has value because you will have these other things that will survive the campaign, whether you win or lose. One other thing I'm going to put in here for candidates, if I can find it here, is another training document on managing volunteers, the care and feeding of volunteers. If you do have volunteers, this is the time when you want to get them motivated. This is the time when everyone's asking for, their services. This sheet will give you some tips to make sure that they feel welcome, that they're appreciated, that they're excited, that they know there's purpose behind what they do, and to keep them motivated. That's another mistake that candidates make. They don't appreciate or manage their volunteers properly. They don't have a good get out the vote plan. They don't have a good earned media plan so that their people, their volunteers and supporters can stand behind them in the neighborhood. They don't write a campaign plan. They just kind of have it ambiguously in their heads, or their campaign managers has it ambiguously in their heads. And then finally, the last point I'm going to cover today, because this is a lot of information. The last point I'm going to provide is stay anchored in your main message. Your main message should have 3 points, which is all most people can absorb unless you've got a tremendous amount of money to do voter education. The things that you ran on at the beginning of the campaign, things that motivated you to run, stick with that message. The mistake that candidates sometimes make is that they get distracted and they kind of get spread out and they find themselves in the weeds. Remember what your basic messages are and stick with those. Reorient yourself in those messages. And as you go out into the field, as you get out votes, as you knock on doors, as you do earned media, as you call into talk show hosts, all of those things, repeat those messages, that basic 3-point message, whatever it is that you have, whatever's motivating you to run, make sure that you stick with that. And so you will stay grounded in a common theme, and you won't lose at the very end because you seem unfocused and that you've drifted. That's another mistake that candidates often make. But anyway, if you are a candidate, if you are working for a candidate, if you're supporting a candidate, go over these sheets. We have individual training sessions on each of these topics, and you can view them by going to the training tab of the westernlibertynetwork.org website and scrolling down until you find them. For example, there are trainings on getting out the vote. There are trainings on care and feeding of volunteers. There is one on campaign plans, personal media campaign, canvassing your neighborhoods. I've provided those sheets here for your convenience, but they're all available for download on the westernlibertynetwork.org website under the training tab, and videos on each of those topics are there. If you go over those things and you incorporate them into your campaign or into your campaign activism, you will avoid many of the mistakes that candidates make down the home stretch of campaigns. Are there any questions or comments? Eric, did you have anything to say? Barbara?
No, I'm new to all this, so I'm kind of just absorbing all of it as I'm sitting here.
Are you a candidate?
I am a candidate.
What do you write?
It was more of a, oh, nobody's challenging this guy, so I might as well put my name in the hat moment, not
Sure.
A true desire thinking that I was necessarily the best suited person for the position.
Mm-hmm.
And being my first political campaign involvement ever in my life, I'm learning. I have to learn a lot very quickly.
Sure. Can I ask what you're running for?
I'm running for the State Senate District 4.
Okay, and what geographic area is that?
That is going to be the Eugene, Springfield, and then going south of Eugene into the country area.
Yep. And what ticket are you running on?
Libertarian.
Okay, very good. And yeah, that's a tough district for a libertarian in Eugene, but you know, good job standing up, putting yourself out there. You know, the first time I ran, I lost. And the second time I ran, I lost. And it is a learning process. I don't have all the answers, and I don't have the silver bullet. It requires many silver bullets. I've got a few of them. And it's not because I'm a genius, it's just because I've done a lot and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've done some things right. So what I've tried to do is round up the things I did right and put them into these materials. But you know, stick with it. You know what they say, if you don't do politics, politics will do you, and it is something that takes time to learn. And do you think, is any of this helpful to you, Eric?
So far, what you've talked about, appears to be helpful, and it's also, you know, as a business owner, when you realize that, oh, you haven't been doing something right from the beginning, sometimes it's a little daunting to back up and absorb and repunt on what's going on to try to recover. So it's just taking this information and running with it to a usable source, I guess.
Sure. You know, if you do not win this election, I strongly encourage you to run for one of the nonpartisan races in the spring. The filing deadlines are in March. The election is in May, and it's like fire board, water board, school board, you know, mosquito control board. All of these things are up there.
Yeah, no, I was definitely planning that already. That, excellent. You know, use this just as a groundwork, and I've talked to a lot of my customers in my business, and the number one thing I hear from my consumers is, oh, I don't vote because it doesn't matter.
Sure.
And I point out to them that, if every citizen who is registered to vote would check other and write something in,
that would make
we would start seeing a statistic of how many people are truly disenfranchised. And so I've at least started getting people to think about, okay, whether or not I vote for you or not, you're not as concerned as just having me vote.
Sure.
And just check other because I don't like any of my options.
Sure. Understand. Well, I think you're on the right track. Thank you for standing up and putting your name out there on the ballot. It takes a lot of guts, and it's important that we do it. And of course, myself and the other trainers, when I say Western Liberty Network and I say we, sometimes I'm the only face that people see, but what we are is actually, we've got a 3-person board of directors. We have a 5-person board of advisors. We've got about 20 trainers in our stable of experts that train on different topics. And all together, we have these resources that are available for people like you who are trying to get started in politics. And all of these resources are free. The only thing we charge for are hotel conferences, because we've got to make our hotel conference or our hotel contract. But on October 1st, even that one is free because FreedomWorks is picking up the bill. So feel free to avail yourself of all of the resources that we have to offer. And it'll make things a little bit easier for you because you won't have to reinvent so many wheels. So Barbara, do you have anything to say? It looked like Eric was going to say something.
Well,
All good.
Well, go ahead. No, I just have a observation I've made for every election is I never cease to be amazed how terrible the lawn signs are, or the billboards, or the signs. I can't believe people have paid professional folks, and they have such terrible lawn signs. There are only, of course, I'm not all over the state, so I don't see them. I won't name the ones that I think are effective. But anyway, that's my amusing comment. I started putting up lawn signs when I was in junior high, so that's always a huge priority, effective lawn signs. And I don't know what you, Richard, what you tell people, but they should be instant, hit you in the face, and don't have to think, and you drive on. But
let me show you mine.
They're terrible. Even
I'm going to show you my lawn sign, the one that I used.
okay.
When I used this for my lawn sign, when I ran for re-election of the Tualatin Valley Water District. I'm going to share the screen here. Okay, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, that hits you in the face.
It hits you in the face. A guy named Ken Montone did this for me, who was a professional graphic artist. He happened to be a libertarian. This was a nonpartisan race. And he did this for me. And the idea is you get the name there. You don't have a lot of distracting graphics. You have a bold, high contrast letters. And I was very grateful to get this sign and banner because I've seen a lot of bad ones too. I know exactly what you think.
Well, like I said, and I won't name them. I to keep it nonpartisan. I won't name them, but it just the colors, they fade away. You can't see them. You drive, and I'm thinking the ones I see when I drive around,
Sure.
Even the small ones. But it's I just shake my head and go.
Well, I'll name one. I remember the guy is a wonderful guy. It's not a reflection on.
Yeah, exactly.
He and his wife are amazing, but a guy was named ran for legislature, Ken Shamlawful, and Shamlawful is a tough name to put on a sign to begin with. And so he had Shamlawful and kind of a wavy thing across the sign, and below it said, "Not a Republican, not a Democrat, not even a lawyer." And it was funny, it was great, but you couldn't see anything. When you drove by, you couldn't read it, you couldn't see it. And it did get a little bit of notoriety because of the not even a lawyer thing. And so word of mouth got his name, but the sign itself was almost useless because it was visibly unviable. It's got to be simple.
sign stands for the person. And if you want to be dynamic and bold, then your
Yes.
sign ought to be that way, not some
Yep.
played out.
A lot of people should also know that if your objective is to persuade voters, signs are one of the least effective things you can do. What they are good for is establishing name recognition. If nobody knows who you are and you want some name recognition, the signs are good for that. But nobody says, I was going to vote for Smith, but now that I've seen this sign, I'm going to vote for Jones. That never happens.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. And they're as important as they ever have been. And of course, they're clutter, and some people don't like them just because they clutter up the yards, and that's a whole nother issue. But anyway, that's my favorite observation during election time. That's nonpartisan.
Yep. No, that was very good. And we here at WLN are also nonpartisan. But if you want to talk about your partisan experiences, that's fine. And I guess I'm saying too much, but you get the idea. So did you have anything else for the good of the order today? Or Eric, you had something to say before Barbara spoke, yes?
I was just thanking you. That's all.
Oh, well, no problem. Thank you for coming. If we have nothing else, we'll call it a day. And
I do.
We're not going to have a training next Saturday because we've got the conference up in Vancouver. Again, go to westernlibertynetwork.org, check out the conference. It's free, co-sponsored by FreedomWorks, dynamite event. But we will be back in 2 weeks with another training. I'll try and see if I can get another face on the screen.
I will say one more thing. I already did, but just for the record, congratulations to Richard for getting reappointed to the Oregon Ethics Commission.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I'll try not to land in jail. How's that? If I don't go to jail, I'll consider it a victory. So it's all good. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. God bless you. And we hope to see y'all soon.